Welcome back to Devil in Detail. This is episode 14. Your host, Tony McMillen. And, it's been a long journey going through Grendel, Matt Wagner's masterpiece, and doing it on my own. But I figured for this episode, it'd be nice to have a little backup. So I'm going to bring in my own Grendel brigade. Please, I have two guests. Velveeta Grendel to Eli and Ben. Please, come on down.
Hey, what up? Vivat Grendel, Tony.
Velveeta Grendel. Let's get into the intro.
Fast, baby, slow. Yeah. Vivat Grendel.
It's like the devil is my best friend. Hunter rose with the pen to the fork end, or till time end. Like Orion, Jupiter my kin, bloodline private. We control the whole shit. The wolf won't beef, then we feast off the rip. Behold the devil in detail. Behold the devil in detail.
Nice.
Right.
So that's all I had planned, guys. What do you think we should do now?
I think we're back, and we're better than ever. Featuring Tony McMillen. Thanks for the intro, guy. This is your podcast now.
Cool.
We are picking up on page 20 of Batman and Grendel. Batman Grendel. When so much has been happening. We just had Grendel setting the pieces in motion. Batman saved Hilly from some street toughs. Rachel had a bad dream and had her boss, Leonard, who was coerced by Grendel through art theft, to get her in line and to get things going so that Grendel can learn where the Sphinx and its shipping routes. And we pick up with the bat symbol. Did I miss anything, guys?
Dude, when you say it out, like all out loud like that, it's a lot. Like, Jesus Christ.
It's a lot.
Moving pieces.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And super dense book.
Yeah, and all the pieces continue to move, and Matt's never shies away from more and more stuff, to the point where almost at the end it's like a flurry of stuff that's going on. You're just like, damn.
Well, the Black Gutters are back.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes Jim Gordon with the bat signal, and Joe Matt absolutely killing it with the airbrush and colored pencil.
Oh my God, yeah.
In the sky. Looks so good.
Yeah.
And I love cartoony deputy dog here guy moving his head it's so fun.
Yeah, it's great.
Sure.
And of course, he doesn't like to use it too often, but when he does, he knows it's important. So Batman shows up and says, "What's going on? Looks like the Riddler's at it again. He's riddled us this."
I love Batman's note though. He's like, Gordon's not like a little bitch or anything, man. He only does what's important. My bat beeper is pretty calm, so don't only think like he's a wuss. Like,
Yeah.
It's such a weird, like, okay, cool. That's either way, I'm fine.
Yeah, and we see the riddle here, and I think that to any Batman reader, it's clear that this is not the work of the Riddler, because the Riddler's riddles are like, I am red and goony and ghouly. It's like, it's really kind of.
What's the answer to that one? That's amazing.
The answer is Baba Gabagool, the meat.
Yeah, also
That
he
was
signs
just me.
his note, the Riddler. Which is not,
No, he doesn't do that either. He puts the question mark and stuff, right?
right.
I always love like World's Greatest Detective. He's like, it says the Riddler. I just don't know though.
Yeah.
Every time there's a Riddler story, I've never guessed the riddle. Never. Even if they're written for children half the time.
Well, yeah, and they usually give them to you, but this one, and Batman straight up says this is a declaration, not a riddle. The riddle deals in puzzles, and he isn't so arrogant. Like we said last ep, Hunter's arrogant.
Right.
Matt wrote that Riddler one-shot in the mid-'90s that I just read in the recently released Batman Omnibus.
I don't think I've read that.
He didn't draw it. The riddles are impossible. It's like the Riddler he has a torture TV show, like an art warehouse pop-up TV show, where he asks people riddles, and if they don't get it right, he'll like release hyenas into a cage with them, or whatever it is. And it's just like they're the most like complex. Like if you don't think exactly like this one crazy person, like you would never.
Yeah.
That's why the Adam West shows, the riddles in that are so fun because Batman's like, oh, clearly the jumps are so good, and the writers obviously they know it, and it's I love that kind of stuff. But I've always been really dumb.
I used to have a Riddler outfit, and I would a lot of times cosplay that, or just throw it on when I'd be at cons or even fish shows. But
and would you say, did you know that the government wants to give you money just for starting?
No, I should have. I did make the mistake of never having prepared riddles, and so everyone would be like, "Oh, you're the Riddler. Give me a riddle," and I'd be like, "Ooh, I did not plan for that." And I just kept doing that too until I finally memorized a couple, which are already out of mind. But so then Batman's like, "This isn't the Grendel. This isn't the Riddler. There's something else afoot. I will jump off into the night to find."
Dude, he should start calling him the Grendler. That'd be awesome.
The Grendeler.
Yeah.
I like that this is that Gordon has Deputy Dog with him, so that Gordon isn't surprised when he jumps off. He's just like taking another pull.
Yeah, he does.
The cop
Right.
is left to be amazed. Fun.
Yeah, because it's normal hat for him, but I guess Jim just brings someone new every now and then just to like amaze him or something.
Give him a little,
yeah.
Anyway, so back in the world of the working stiffs, we
Mhm.
got Rachel's with it at this early meeting at Wayne Tech, and Hilly has slept in for her meeting with Hunter.
And so much so that she has to jump out of bed without pants on. So she sleeps with just a shirt, like most people.
right.
And she has a very cool Bowie painting over her bed.
Oh, the low poster! Right away I was like, super cool. And also back then, even cooler than you have now. I gotta say.
So she's running in, and so this lady in blonde. Okay, so that's Rachel. So we're going back and forth between Rachel's day and Hilly's day, which are crazy. Hilly has these really cool head earrings on that we see later are like the rotary dial of a phone. She's very stylish. And this is where they finally meet their beaux, the men, Bruce and Hunter, first come into play.
This is a really fun layout treatment, how it's these gutterless strips of different bits of their faces and bodies and get-ups, and then like it's their reaction to them. I really enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, it's always fun to see in a fiction like a woman just being like, oh, this guy's really hot and attractive, and being a little taken aback, because more often you see the flip side of that. And I love, like, of course, Bruce doesn't give a shit, and she's all about that. And Hunter is definitely just playing like eyebrow games, like, and she's way into that.
Yeah,
and I am too. Like, he's like I always think that he looks like, in my mind, he's like a young Clive Barker with a little bit of Brendel Fly. Oh my God, Jeffrey. Jurassic Park guy, you know.
Which guy?
Goldblum.
Oh, Jeff Goldblum. Yeah.
Okay, Goldblum, Clive Barker, to me, equals Hunter Rose somehow.
Nice.
And
they're both kind of like
weird to have this really young guy who's super put together. You know, I'm an old guy who wears I'm in lockdown in t-shirts and basketball shorts for 6 months. So, what do I know about Canes and Paisley shirts?
And that Paisley is well done, and boy, is that a shirt that Hunter Rose has on. The next page, we see them both introduce to these ladies, and both women are aghast or are both wowed by the presence. Bruce is a hulking beefcake, and Hunter is a stylish, intellectual type of figure.
What's up with Hilly's bondage belt type situation?
She's just super stylish, man. She's got like,
she's in the Susie and the Banshee. She's been to a Nine Inch Nails concert. She's dipping her toes in the Gothic waters.
That's the 90s. All right.
Yep. And so we continue at the conference table where they're kind of talking about the Sphinx and where it's going, and whereas the editor is like, Hilly, why don't you take out Hunter to like get some food? And they're like, hell yeah. Hunter's like, ready to go. Let's do this. Splendid idea. I have yet to eat.
Yeah.
And they go out to Bijou's for some foie gras.
And the expression on Hilly is so good. It's like Carrie at the prom. Like, oh my God, he likes what? This is amazing.
Yeah, and there's a point in here where it goes from she's working with him and trying to court him professionally to they are dating. It is
Right.
mentioned,
It's
and that just kind of happens instantly, and it's like, all right.
yeah. Well, Rachel refers to her as her like boyfriend or something, doesn't she? Later on.
I'm not sure.
I think she does, but I wasn't sure if that was almost like a mocking or sort of like a question in its own way. I wasn't sure.
Anyway, the boardroom meeting is seemingly only about making sure that Wayne Tech can coordinate with their Egyptian office to the Leonard Ross shipping schedule, delivery schedule. You know, that's that information which Leonard Ross cannot know because of reasons.
Right.
You know, everyone needs to know. Just have a stakeout. You know, like just hang out on the rooftop, and when the 17,000-pound crate comes in, that's the Sphinx.
It's a really good point. It's pretty hard to hide a Sphinx.
Yeah, but then I guess they're like,
that's not what this is about. You know,
No.
that's just like the dressing of whatever. You know.
Right.
will you guys give me like a minute? Manus was supposed to come at like 7:30. He's here now to pick up this T-shirt.
Yeah.
Is it a nice T-shirt?
Yeah, it's like
That's
a
all right,
Sam
I'm just
Keith
gonna-
Joker shirt that he's like gonna sell for like
That's
$300.
fine. I'll just
You're gonna call
tell
Matt.
Tony how much I liked his book when I read it today.
Please do.
Go
All right,
for
cool.
it.
I'll be back in a second.
I finished Lumen.
Cool.
Finished Lumen and liked it a lot.
Oh, thanks, man.
And I really want to read your other graphic novel that that woman drew.
Oh, Oblivion Suite.
Yeah, Oblivion Suite.
Yeah. So, Kat, she's. I'm sorry. They go by like they pronouns.
Oh,
But
excuse me.
oh, it's okay. I just messed up myself. But anyways, it's fun. It was my first comic book, so and I was just a writer, so I definitely there's some pages where I'm like, why is there so much dialogue? Why is there so? But it's a fun story. And it's basically my wheelhouse of weird analog. So it's basically like a sort of Pink Floyd prog rock. Do you read the synopsis at all?
I think I heard you talk about it on the Book Talk interview.
Oh, you have the Alistair, the book.
Yeah. Oh, it's about Syd Barrett. It's about they feel guilty about having made all their bones on Syd Barrett's misery.
Right. So they go into some weird sort of So it was a lot of fun. It's one of those things where it's almost like when Alan Moore talked about Making from Hell, he would just want to do a story about a murder, and he's like, Jack the Ripper is too obvious. It's like the biggest one, and so I was like prog rock. I was like, oh, Pink Floyd's like they're so popular, they're almost like they're bigger than prog rock. But then it's like, no, their story, Syd Barrett's story is so tragic and
Totally.
And you know Roger Waters' connection to him. I was like, I gotta do something with this. So it was
And
really
it's
fun.
almost like a story that it feels like fiction.
Yeah, like when you read about when they're recording "Wish You Were Here" and he shows up and he's all crazy looking and then they're crying. It's like that. It's amazing that it actually happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Anyways.
so that one, if I could find, I might actually have because I only printed like 40 or something, and now that's it. And so if I might have an extra one. I'll just send it to you.
Well, I owe you a package for sure, so that's good. Anyway, I liked Lumen a lot. I really enjoy the trip of like getting into your imagination and your aesthetic and coloring and all that, and it's just sort of amazing that like this is it's like your first solo book, because it's in a lot of ways it's really formed. And then I finished the second issue of Serious Creatures like just before we got on this call, and just like the evolution in storytelling and writing, like it's a different writing approach, and really I can't wait to finish Serious Creatures.
Oh, thanks. I feel it's I mean thank you very much. They're different works. They're going for different things, but it is my second book, so I feel like I couldn't help but get better because I'm kind of just starting. And so for me, I'm editing them together for the collection. I'm like going through. I'm like, oh man, issue 3 is when it feels like the book I was supposed to be doing the whole time. So issue 3 on is like I feel like it's almost like Bottle Rocket to Rushmore. I'm like, oh, he got more money and figured out how to use a camera. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I have an issue of Lumen, which is finished, but I did it. I did it before Serious Creatures, and I colored it the old Lumen way. And now I want to change the way I colored it completely, and I probably will. So when I go back, I'm gonna do another Lumen book. I'm gonna include that. I got a crazy idea how to do it, but the old Lumen coloring, a lot of it's too much. It's like too garish, and I thought Serious Creatures, I like that it's more watercolory and use of crayon and stuff like that. I think it looks a little better. It's different stories.
Yeah, they're very different. It really has this like fairy tale pulp trip adventure feel to it. And I want to especially shout out the 11-page sequence of him falling into the angler mouth. That was unbelievable when I read that.
Thank you so much. That was a really tough like 2 weeks or something. I was like still drawing this angler thing. I was like it's like it's its own little book. It felt like I was doing animation by myself for like a 3-second long sequence. But
did you read this book, Eli?
I didn't get to.
Oh my God.
Lumen, right?
There's like a 12-page sequence where the camera doesn't move and it's just like the slowest like action. It's amazing.
It's one of those things like I loved like reading like George Lucas and Spielberg talking about when the reason why they want to do Indiana Jones, they just want to do a bunch of awesome like escape sequences and like you know like pulps things. I'm like, yeah, that's the most fun. So I was like, I can't do a giant ball, but I was like, well, I love anglerfish. I think they're really gnarly looking, and in this world, with the world of night, it's like, what if there's like a giant monster and the guy's falling, and then like you see the light first, and in my head, it was very much like an Indiana Jones type of sequence where he's like, oh, how's he gonna get out of this one, you know, and he barely does, and that's I feel like that type of hero is still around, but in the 80s and 90s, it was really about a guy who gets the shit beat out of him and barely makes it out alive. And I love that. Like, I don't like Seagal who doesn't get hit or something like that. I want a guy who like he basically shouldn't even live. I love like Harrison Ford and Blade Runner. It's like he loses the fight at the end, but Rutger Hauer spares him. I love that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that's my Esteban guy. He's plucky, but he doesn't deserve to live. He Mr. Magoo's it through.
They're going out to lunch?
Yeah, so they headed out to lunch. A friend recommended a place nearby that she could never afford, but that Hunter, or that the business was able to do so.
Yeah.
And then we see them still talking about like how it's going to be arriving at Gotham Harbor. Obviously, everything happens on the docks. That's where the Sphinx head is coming in. And here's Hunter kind of mining. I don't know if he knew that they're already roommates, but he's kind of like getting information out of her about stuff.
Yeah, I was actually unclear about that too. I'm like, it is a coincidence if it's not. He really lucked out.
Yeah, because it didn't really say that he knew all these moving parts in the beginning, though Larry usually fills him in on all the people.
That's part of the game, you know.
Yeah.
Part of the game and the luck of being brilliant is that you sort of stumble into, you know, your own mystery. I love these two panels at the end that they mirror the last ones where they have their you know, the wow 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 moment where they're kind of like overlapping and just slightly larger in the goodbyes.
And she's like, she didn't think she was going to do it, but she doesn't even know what happened. She was like, Mr. Wayne, and then she was like, I'm sorry, I was rude. You know, she's like electrified by his manliness.
It's so cool to see like this character who is unflappable in every other situation, but Bruce Wayne is a hunk, dude. You can't. You just gotta take a crack at it, you know. Like that's fun.
And Hilly and Hunter kind of make a date for later for the party that she wants to go to, and she says, "Bob's your uncle." Did you guys know that one already? Or did you have to Google it?
It means whoop, there it is.
Yeah, basically, it means like it's like wraps up a conversation or something like that. So that's it.
I think it's like an old Monty Python line I've heard a million times. So I actually thought they would do something a little more crazy and Britishy or something, you know?
Yeah.
I used to write for a British website called Heckler Spray. I write weird joke articles, and I wrote this article. I mentioned something about peanut butter and jelly, and the editor's like, "Hey, just so you know, dude, like in England, jelly doesn't mean jelly like you guys. It actually sounds pretty gross, peanut butter and that. So we're gonna change this word. I forget what they call it.
Oh wow!
It just made this jam, but I was like,
Jam,
oh, that's fine, dude. I wouldn't have noticed that anyways. That's totally cool.
Bob's your uncle, and they set up the date, and Rachel's like, "Dumb, you idiot, dumb," at her thing with Bruce, and Haley's like, "Wow, wow, 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 wow." She's all psyched up about her thing.
Yeah, she's walking on sunshine.
Yeah, whoa, whoa, and
It's so
time to feel
tragic
good.
too. Knowing who Hunter is, it's like so like, God damn it, girl. Like,
Yeah,
but it's great.
it's not going to turn out right.
No.
And then we come back into Leonard's apartment, where there's these wild statues.
No, this is the boyfriend's studio.
Oh, that's right. Okay, this is his boyfriend's studio. Who is also put to sleep the same way he did his wife. And he's like, I'm surprised. He's like, it's not only with all this secrecy, but with such a modernist, hardly your image, Lenny, because like I guess this is like a modern art guy, and he's like a classical artist.
Well, you're gonna cheat on your wife. You might as well go crazy with it, right? Like,
yeah, well, you're looking for something different,
Right. Also, Hunter's pose on top of the statue is great.
Oh, it's great.
It's so cool.
The fork is such a powerful weapon too, because it can poke and prod and do all these things and point, and it's just great. Much better than
imagine a very slow arc as he points it over at the guy.
Oh
right?
yeah.
It's kind of heavy. It's like kind of dipping a little bit, like a bad boom mic in a shot or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And so he's kind of asking Leonard for like to get filled in, to get back up to speed, what's going on. Then the phone rings.
The Leonard's face here. This is my favorite cartoony face in the issue. I love the exaggeration.
It's kind of like one of those Devil Tracks covers. From later on.
It's got that Kurtzman vibe to it.
Right.
Super cool. Anyways, Larry's on the phone.
Larry knows where to call him too. Old smoky.
Yeah, helpful Lair Bear. Yeah.
Old smoke nostrils, Larry.
Oh, he's gross.
And he's just kind of filling them in. Each of our ladies has a sordid past, so he's laying in a new thing that Hunter can use to get leverage on both of these women. So at this point, Batman is really kind of in the dark about everything, and Hunter Rose is really turning all the gears, and everyone's just kind of like a pawn in his game at this point.
Yeah, just to amuse himself. He doesn't need money. He just needs to get his kicks.
No, he was bored, so he came to Gotham, and now that's all he's ruining lives just for the sake of his own joy and fun.
I just noticed that in these little duo shade flashbacks, that they're like photo album corner frames.
Yeah.
And they're color coded to the characters.
Yeah, the yellow and the periwinkle. Yeah, really smart.
Yeah, the baby was taken away from her. That is really sad. When she can't even see the baby.
No, yeah.
Horrible. So that's trauma.
Oh man. So yeah, they both had. Rachel had a college era abortion, and Rachel put a baby that she had up for adoption. Neither were seemingly from a person that they had any interest in continuing a relationship with. They were both kind of like mistakes.
Well, it seems like from the nightmare that it was an assault.
Oh, it was a rape.
Rachel.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So yeah, just terrible situations that in this day and age, I think, I don't know, they would be looked at differently. I don't know.
Yeah,
I had the same thought that 30 years later, these things are looked at differently.
Right, and I think perhaps some of the fear that they get from it is they could be fired. People would look at them differently. They would look at it this way, but in this day and age, you couldn't fire someone for that. You wouldn't look down on them. You would frankly,
right.
I mean, you would feel for them in a way that you.
And also, you probably wouldn't hide it from your best friend.
Well, that's the interesting part.
Sure.
I was gonna say, especially like with Hilly, like Hilly still doesn't tell her the whole truth until it's like the last possible moment, because it's to her it's so shameful, and I think that's really interesting that they're very close, but there are things, there's secrets, there are things that they just don't want to talk about.
Just don't tell anyone.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're gonna abduct the kid. That's
Right.
the new lever. Wonderful.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he's just like, take care of it. And Lair's like, sure, no problem. And
This is a great introduction to Hunter, because if this is your first like Grendel book, it's just he's diabolical. It doesn't really give a shit, and
No.
you do find him charming or at least interesting, but he's like there are very few depths he won't crawl to, because he just wants to do what he wants to do. He's ruthless. It's amazing.
And I mean, he goes right for the jugular every time. He doesn't beat around the bush at all.
Yeah.
And this is the longest form Hunter Rose story up until this point.
Yeah.
Right.
And
the
really
only
for a
one-
while, for a while.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's one of the big ones, you know, and obviously because of DC rights issues, it's not included in omnibus editions. And, you know, will this ever be back in print? Who's to say, you know?
Right. The only other thing is the Dark Horse DC trade that was put out in the 2000s, I guess.
Is this in that?
Yeah, there's a Batman Grendel trade that's got this and the Hunter
Like
Rose.
all-
Oh, right.
four,
This one.
That one,
Yeah.
right. And there was a hardcover too.
Oh, okay.
That's super.
And then there's
expensive.
also a Dark Horse DC Alien, Superman, Predator,
Oh, I love that one.
Wildcats,
Oh,
all that
it's so
stuff
good.
kind of thing.
Was that the Batman and Superman versus Aliens versus Predator?
Oh,
That book is bomb.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, Hunter just drops the phone and he's like, this is how you're going to get in touch with me when it happens. You're going to put an ad out in the newspaper. You are Oedipus and I am Rex.
He Grendel's off into the night.
He does it a couple times. Wagner does Grendel's hands, no holding line, just white.
Yeah.
And just the color, it's such a cool look, because of course the dark silhouette of his costume, basically, it's so black. Love it. And him
Next to the airbrush.
right. Oh, it's great.
And so now, you know, Hunter's talking about how like Leonard's like worthless now. He's like almost worthless endeavor, but like, you know, everyone's desperation is showing. And Hilly's on her way to meet Hunter to the party, right? As we pick her up?
No, I think she's just chilling. She's thinking about her ambitions as an author.
Right. She's maybe coming home from work or something like that, or she's just walking, and then we see creeping in the alleyways. Just these alleys in Gotham are not a place that you want to walk past at all.
Even in daylight, and I love how Grendel is just coming out of the shadows. It's really effective.
Oh yeah, and he just grabs her again. She is dressed awesomely, and he grabs her by the neck and puts her up against the wall, and you know is like, listen, hush, hush, my sweet. And, you know, he lays it out for her. What's happening? I've got your kid that you, and she's like, what? I haven't even heard of this. You know, like I haven't even thought about it in so long. And what else did you guys take from that?
I like the humor of, and then I lost my hat.
Oh,
Yeah, that's her writer's voice.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a Tony McMillen kind of jibe.
Is it that good? I thank you very much. I really like on Grendel's mask, some of the lines here, like the hatching. Wagner, those feel like really Wagner lines. Like I've seen those. He still does those sometimes.
Yeah, this is like an early usage of that Wagner that really comes into play a lot in Behold the Devil.
Right, and later on, Grendel primes the character. I see that a lot in like the hatching on his musculature and stuff like that. And I always think that's a Wagner kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
and the Batman Grendel Prime story, it's the entire thing is done.
Is that that way?
Yeah, it must have been when he got really into like that thing. But this is great. And again, it's really tragic about Hilly. Just she's head over heels for Hunter. Like she thinks it's like life's turning around. Things are coming up from Millhouse, and he's a dude just fucking her over more than ever. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and her face after this all happens, I mean, she is crushed. Like she is like the shadowing on her face, and it's just these eyes are completely wide open and like, oh my god.
Yeah, well, it's very Bernie, and all three of these guys were artistic brothers, and there's a lot of overlap between, you know, in that aesthetic with the style.
Yeah. And in this next frame, it almost looks like I know this is not what he's doing, but it looks like he's like, you know, like grabbing her by the nose holes. But
Oh,
I think it's like he's kind of brushing
it's
her
like
hair.
this,
Or,
yeah.
I think his move was like, how's your mom? Oh, I'll tell you. And then he did one of these.
Yeah. And then, oh man, he like throws her off into the night, and she's like scared to death. Like you can see the death in her eyes, and she's just like shattered. Like, oh my.
Oh, sorry, that's the one I was talking about.
That's the burning one.
The burning one.
Yeah, the last pan with her eyes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right.
Man, back to Rachel and Leonard, who are again, Grendel's prodding Leonard, Leonard's prodding Rachel, and Rachel's like, "Fuck you both, dude. Like, I don't." And he's like, "Don't get gutsy with me, Miss King." And he's like, "Not that any outside party would know of the little fact, of course." And I don't know why I read that one, but so they're just battling back and forth. She's trying to like make sauce for her and Hilly, but it's like,
yeah.
It's
This like arrangement of text and images is used later on, where except it's a palindrome, where when Hilly tells her story to Hunter, it's a black caption, and then there's all that text.
Yes.
Love it. Just all kinds of different ways to arrange the two elements of comics.
And then Hilly comes home just like, holy shit. But she's already calling the cops because of Leonard, who's like kind of like harassing her, if not threatening her.
Yeah, he wants to know when the shipping schedule is. That's nothing's more important than that.
I know. The shipping schedule is everything. It's the crux of the biscuit here. And so she calls the cops, and then she comes in. She's like, "Hey, Ray, low Ray, going to bed." Like, where the cops could be helping her, but Hilly can't say anything because she's now in the pocket of Grendel as well. We got a little Batman's log, star date 459. Target is obviously the Sphinx, so he's kind of getting it that the Sphinx is becoming the thing. He's kind of inputting some knowledge into the bat pewter, and then he's talking to old Gordo up there. What did you guys take from this conversation between Gordon and
they basically seem like they're both a little, they know something's sketchy, something doesn't add up quite, but they can't get the whole picture yet. I do love the way he draws Gordon. It's a classic kind of Gordon look, but he adds a little flair to it. And at this point, it seems like these guys have been working together for at least some time. They feel pretty comfortable to each other.
Yeah, they have shorthand, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
Are finishing each other's like positings and stuff.
They got to get that shipping info.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honestly more invested in Hilly and Rachel.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't you think Bruce Wayne would have the shipping information? Like, doesn't
that? He was in that meeting. He was in that meeting, and he looked like he was asleep. But that's just
right. That's his.
That's
facade.
just a mask. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's also fun too. Like you have Hilly saying, every macho freak in the world tends to gravitate to, and then of course it cuts to Batman right there.
Yeah.
And Gordon talking about like these Wayne Tech security boys. I'm sure you can dig it up on your own. And Batman cracks a smile. He's like, probably. And that's kind of fun because that's one of the few times Batman's showing that he's having a good time because and of course he can't really let anyone know why, but he's having some fun.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, maybe. And then we see back between Hilly and Rachel's. I mean, it seemed almost as though she was telling her about her interaction with Grendel. But then, then she's kind of like, well, when does it arrive? And Rachel's like, what? Like, how could you even ask me that? And she's like, never mind. I could just save my life. That's a hard
expression to draw too. And Hilly has like the fake kind of smile, like, that's toughy. Yeah. I'm really impressed by how you pulled it off.
Mm-hmm. And then seems like we have the Submariner down here on the next page or something.
Same thought. I was like, oh hell yeah, like Vulcan Speedo guy. It's definitely Namor. And my first thought actually was like, he draws Bruce a little. He looks a little thinner, and that first I was like, is this Hunter somehow? I was like, no. I
was thinking, yeah, but we get a great cave here for sure. We get the very Walt Simonson-y cave, the big stuff. Was that the right reference?
I just like the chasms. There's like stairwells to like
into the different levels.
Layers.
And I like the texture on those is really cool. Mm-hmm. And I've also loved the old-fashioned like Blade Runner Sphinx computer for Batman's computer, the Sphinx days.
Love it, yeah. The
Yeah,
grid and stuff, yeah.
right. That's always fun.
And here it is more of him just kind of like, you know, being the detective and like going through all his stuff. Why are they trying to steal this? Like, to me, it kind of seems like there must be something else going on. Like there's something in it. There's drugs in it. There's some sort of codex in there or something. There's like, what more is there to this thing? You know?
Right.
I think a lot of it is just like that grand Batman 66 giant penny. Got it.
Yeah.
Like make it big, make it fun, make it grand.
And if you're gonna draw, if Wagner's thinking this is my only Batman comic I'll ever draw,
Right.
you want to do all the stuff. You want to do all
Everything's got to get in there.
Yeah, you got to get it all in there.
I find it funny that he has a special gymnastics speedo. I feel like
Bat
every
Speedo.
time I've seen this, he's just wearing like part of his outfit.
Right.
You know.
Well, that's the little underoos, the Batman underoos.
Well, no, see, Alfred's not there to clean that shit.
Right.
Ah,
Right.
yeah,
There
that's
you
what it
go.
is.
Yeah. Well, it would be good if there were like piles of dishes, you know, and
Around the bat pewter.
Yeah.
Mac
it's
and
like-
cheese containers and stuff.
yeah,
Oh, that'd be
it's
great.
Just something gross. All right. Cool. So,
So then we go back to the Leonard Ross gallery. She's slamming in there, and like Leonard's not even showing up. He's bounced. He's done what he can to get away from all this now.
this is the biggest project of her employment, and he can't even be bothered to show up. So,
And the same is happening for Hilly, who's
Hilly,
like, I
yeah.
can't make it, dude. I've got the Grendels, just like Leonard does.
Yeah, wonderful back and forth use of color, shadow, no gutters, thin strips.
Hunter
Looking good.
calls her and says, you know, I heard that you're not in today. She's like, I've got the Grendel bumps.
Yeah, he's like posing as like the good, maybe interested guy.
Yeah, but then she like
Super
hangs
weird.
up, and I'm like, yeah, fine, bye. You know, when he's
Yeah.
like,
Well, she's so stressed out over. Wait, doesn't she tell him about the extortion? Or is that
Yeah.
later?
no, that's later when they're at the party, I
Okay.
think. Yeah.
All right.
And he's like asking about her roommate because he's like, maybe I could come over, and he wants to talk to them both because you know, he knows that Rachel's got the info that he so craves. Them sweet shipping deets.
Well, Rachel's
The tracking
just had
number.
another mini project sprung on her, which is event planning for this for the
Wayne
Sphinx
Gala.
announcement. Yeah,
Yeah.
so she's all burnt out from that, and then Hilly goes through her room,
Everything
which
in
is
the house.
not a good roommate move.
No, tears it apart.
to me.
Waltzed. Well, it's her and old gentleman Jack.
Yeah.
Jack Daniels, who's helping her with this fury of tearing apart her best friend's stuff, basically.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
She basically, I think, kind of wants to be caught. She just goes like, she basically wants to be caught, and like she wants to confess to. She wants out of this, I think, in a lot of ways, at least subconsciously.
She's definitely not thinking right. She's definitely just like in such a frantic headspace that she can't even like.
Right.
She can't do it. And then we get our first really like kind of Grendel-y Batman move, whereas Batman sneaks up on Leonard here.
He's like, blah.
That blooming flower. Yeah, this is Wagner always uses the cape
A lot.
as the Dracula fear device. Always.
It's great, and it just swallows him in the darkness. I love it because this is Batman trying to. This is somebody he's trying to kind of help. It's just really funny.
And he's like, yeah.
Right.
And this next page too, this top right panel of Batman is so very matte. Early matte work here. So he's trying to get some info from his wife, from Leonard about the Sphinx. He's trying to he's here to discuss your inquiries into the delivery of the Sphinx. And and then he's like, why are you doing this? And he's like, wait a second, are you the victim of blackmail? And he's like, yes. And so then now Batman is getting more info. Perhaps it's the Riddler, but perhaps it's like, who's your contact? And then here's a crucial thing where he's supposed to put an ad in the personals from Oedipus to Rex. And then he's like, Lenny, I'm ready. Oh, yeah, because they're about to head off to the gala, too. And his wife is, like, getting ready. And Batman's like, yo, you fucking make a sound. And, like, so then.
Oh, I'm sure she's used to hearing strange men's voices downstairs. She disappear all
Yeah.
of a sudden. She's like, oh, God, hurry up.
And then this Batman, he's like, have a wonderful time. He's like, stop.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a funny pose.
He's waving
Yeah.
him off.
He's like, have a wonderful time.
Yeah.
Bye.
And then he's out the window. Classic Batman.
Mm-hmm. And another stressful day for Rachel. She's grabbing a cab. She's heading home. She's been planning the Wayne Tech Gala. And then she's like, and then she comes home and everything got worse.
Great rug.
Hillary.
Yeah, another great rug. It's Hilly doesn't seem to be much consequence of Hilly going through all of Rachel's documents and stuff. It's really more of, oh, you made a mess in the apartment.
Yeah, it's kind of,
and they kind of like brush it under the rug. So anyway,
they help each other clean up and then kind of console. And she's like, I'm gonna call the cops. Like, this is crazy. Like, we can't have this. She's like, no.
yeah.
Don't do it.
I just love the way that they'll cut from sort of like traditional comic book, camera, panel, inset, gutter stuff to the like the Von Bodie pictograph where the text is outside of the image.
Right.
And
Yeah.
just like being able to cover a different kind of, like, it's like a stage play when you do it, because it's the camera is typically at eye level. You've got silhouettes and it's like dialogue and gesture driven.
And it kind of implies a different speed or reading style, or perhaps, the rate at which this moment is happening in real life.
Yeah.
Hilly.
It's all through this book.
Oh yeah. Next page, we get another one of these great, 8-panel pages where each person's, point is reflecting. They're kind of prepping for this inevitable show off that's going to happen. Bruce is working out. Hunter's working out. The two women are kind of stressed, and the two men are kind of like, they're ramping up for something.
It's sort of like the men are preparing to dance with each other, and the women are just worried about their lives and their jobs, and everything's serious. The guys are playing. The boys are having fun in a weird way.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last time we had this arrangement, the middle gutter was the large one where the cityscape was, and now the city is up top. I tend to prefer this one. I think it's a little bit less. It's just like it's cleaner. Where the four ones kind of intersect. The smaller four intersect in the center.
Right. And it's happened that who he thinks is Leonard, but is actually Bruce, has put an ad in the paper, Dear Rex, tomorrow night at 9 at home.
All right. Cool.
And then, so Hunter's like, okay, the game's afoot. Now, Batman is waiting outside because it is like, was in the voice of Leonard, and it is to happen in Leonard's house. So Batman is across the street looking in, talking about the Sphinx, the party. It's nearly 9 with no sign of like this Riddler yet. Amazing final panel on this page, just really showing you, what Grendel can do. Sneak up on Batman.
Right.
No one can do that. No one can sneak up on Batman. No one has the
time with the first one because of the black gutters, where only just now am I realizing that there's a tier up top. I thought that the yellow windows were all one building, and that he was hanging out at different floors.
Gotcha.
So I got a little tripped up by the overlap and all the black.
Yeah, I mean,
works either way.
Yeah, it says, I began to suspect my prey wouldn't appear at all. And he's like, I mean, this is just insane that this Grendel can do this to Batman. Sneak up on him and kick him off the roof, basically.
And it's funny, exactly. Grendel, if he really wanted to, he could have killed him.
Yeah.
He doesn't want that. He wants to. It's pretty fun, the cat and mouse game there, and it impresses the reader, especially. Wagner's got to think there's most readers are probably might be their first Grendel book, or at least a lot of them. So might as well show them what's up.
Yeah. They didn't expect that Grendel would be able to make the first move on Batman.
Right.
And I mean, he's just off the roof. He didn't hear a thing until it's too late. My foe is sleek.
Here we are 36 pages in. It's their only interaction in costume together
Right.
in the whole issue. They're only in the same panel together 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, and it's funny reading it all together. It's very satisfying. But reading this as one piece, it does feel like I would want a little bit more. But
they always do that with the crossovers, don't they?
Yeah.
They kind of like lay all the groundwork till the end of the first issue or something like that, and then it's like, yeah. And Batman has fallen, man. He has to grab at a phone or at an electric line, and if he didn't have his line gloves, he'd be electrocuted to death. And then he's swinging down and.
I like the touch with the gloves. It's fun because it'd be really easy to just go. Oh, there's a pipe and he's fine. It's like no.
Batman's prepared. He is. Yeah. But
there's a number of parts on this spread where Joe Matt really kills it, from the soles of Grendel's shoes to the color hold on when he's sliding down the thing. And then if you look closely at the live wire sparks that are coming out, I'm not really sure how he did that. It looks
some
like
ink splatter.
Well, but there's a little bit of blue around the white. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
Well done.
We'll have to ask Joe Matt.
Yeah, we will. And then Batman's like, I can turn this into a showy entrance, one that would distract, and he smashes into their house, but he's too slow. Grendel was already in there and killed him and threw him out the window?
Looks like.
Yeah, threw him out onto the street. And then there was another riddle. And now we're back to Hilly. Now, is this the outfit that you were talking about, Tony? The Mona Lisa?
Oh, precisely. Yes.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
See, I thought this is not her most fetching look, and my wife's like, "This is awesome." And I was like, "Oh, well, maybe, I don't know. This wasn't doing it for me." Although I do like her later outfit with the Adam Ant like fork and knife thing, which is pretty fun. She's a thrift store queen, and I can relate. I have similar aesthetic in a way, but I mean, at least Hunter's eating it up, or at least he's saying so.
Yeah, they're getting ready to go to different things. Rachel's going to the gala, and Hilly's off to this artist party. And Hunter comes to pick her up at the house. And he's like, "You are a piece of art." And she's like, "Yes, I figured if we were going for art, I might as well be art."
There's been a few outrageous high society party outfits on this podcast, and this is one of them for sure.
Cream of the crop. And this one we get some of the first low society parties. On the next spread, there's a high society party and a low society party in the same page. It's actually super cool. I was really interested in all the types that are down here. We even kind of get an Andy Warhol type in the bottom left.
Yeah, I spotted him right away. I will say, though, on the second panel on that page with the hoity-toity people and the two older people talking to each other, the heads are pretty large. And I wasn't sure if that was intended, or maybe this, it just wasn't something he thought about real quick. But like they looked enormous at first, and I was like, wait, is that right?
They look like the kids from Akira.
That is funny. Yeah, they do look like that.
And they're talking kind of here about how they have the Sphinx, but it's a mock-up. There's like a fake one that they generated, right? Is this here where they're talking about it?
Yeah. So it's not just a gallery. It's a museum. It's it's an enormous facility.
Absolutely.
And
so Hunter and Hilly get to this kind of wild party, and they're like, who's the artist? And she's like, that's him up there, strung up and wired to these TVs, and it's kind of getting crazy. And we see all these. I mean, these styles are very Love and Rockets to me, or very like punk rock type of stuff.
As Love and Rockets, or even some of the stuff in the film Basquiat about that kind of New York scene back then.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's great.
Did you see the swastika earring?
I just did. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The ironic swastika earring, I'm sure.
I think so. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, he's wired up to his critics.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they meet up with Hilly's friends that we met before, and the one is like, "Yeah, I read My Little Chickadee recently. It's pretty good stuff." So that's kind of cool. People know of the work, and they're like, "Well, let's go take a look at the grand repetition."
Yeah.
which is the main art piece, I guess.
The grand airbrush panel.
I love the stuff, the stuff in the background though, like the giant eyes on one of the critics, and it's just really fun. The pink, the hues are really kind of lurid.
Yeah, this is a great spread here. A lot going on.
Yeah, great panel. Do you guys sometimes get a little tripped up by these paneled double page spreads where panels will cross the threshold of
Yeah,
the page?
definitely. It's basically, there's always usually one word balloon that tips me off, like, oh, this is connected. It's okay to read this in this way. But and like here, there's a word balloon. It's like, okay, that's the clue, because it's easy to. Although I guess, I mean, you should read it in one certain order, but it doesn't destroy it if you didn't figure that out.
Yeah.
And I think
it's
Matt leaves it like that.
Yeah.
Kinda.
It's also like it looks different when you're looking at a flat book versus a comic book versus a prestige book.
Mm.
You know, the element that crosses needs to be wider so that it can cross the bend of the spine or whatever it is.
Totally.
Anyway.
So we're getting into a lot of exposition here coming in the next page, whereas Hunter it's like a row of Bruce and Rachel talking because at her party, Rachel too didn't know what she was looking for. She didn't know who she was looking for. She didn't find that like escort. I think she kind of let that go when she was kind of like realized that, you know, I was looking for Bruce. And so they meet up. And so then on the next page, we have this conversation between Bruce and Rachel, and then between Hunter and Hilly.
Yeah, the Hilly's first two panels are the ones I was talking about before, where it's black, and then so that's the story, you know. It's like, oh Jesus, and he shows real concern, he shows real concern,
Right.
Yeah, if that's even possible for Grendel.
That's why he really is that demonic figure. It's you know, he plays it so well. It's really kind of heartbreaking, and you also appreciate, like, wow, man, you're a master at this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Hunter's kind of like, you know, this party is no place for you tonight. We've got to get you out of here, and like, let's do something else. And then Bruce also is like, I've got to go because I've got Batmaning to do.
I wish you just told her that. Like, what? He's like, later.
I mean,
you know,
I've been researching him.
You gotta return some video cassettes.
I like in the third panel, Rachel asks for a sip of his champagne.
Oh, yeah.
Says, "Oh, this one's flat," you know.
Yeah, I'll just get you another one. Oh, because it's not really champagne, probably.
Well, it's not champagne, and also it calls back to the very first scene with in the club, where Grendel drinks his drink.
Right. And Rachel's like, he acts like a teenager, and yet looks like a god. God, the things I would do to him.
That was an amazing piece of observation from her, and I was like, "That's your takeaway? Holy shit!" Like, your love life is not destined for great things.
Yeah, and so then, I mean, things are kind of winding up here. Hilly and Rachel are on the phone. They're chatting. Like, she stayed home one more day. Rachel's at work. She's planning she's like trying to find Leonard still. He still didn't show up, and she's like, I gotta call someone. I think Leonard's dead.
Yeah, just like the rhythm and interplay between the four characters, the constant churning of that, you know, is great. I like the Gotham Arms Art Deco table that Hunter's
It's
at
like
again.
the roundish, like command center table type of thing.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah,
And it's also fun, real quick, on the last page too, we talked about like Hilly's version of Hunter. She's like, oh, he could change things for me. Like her version is, oh, I could get fixed. I could somebody. It's so strange, the inversion and the way she looks at things.
yeah, absolutely.
And then
they're all weird reflections of each other.
Yeah,
Right.
there's like this whole like square of influence happening between these four people that kind of is unknown to, and really Hunter's the only one that kind of has all the cogs in his head.
Right.
And so back here on the next page, Hunter's talking with Larry Bear, and Larry's like telling him the abduction came off good. They placed the ad in the newspaper, Dear Thorn, come tonight after 10 and inside this time, from Rose. Also, welcome back, Gary Stroga. What could that be? I was like, it makes me think of in the Simpsons episode, man, there's like a close up on a newspaper article that I can't remember what it says, but then right below it, it says like Grateful Dead tickets, half price or something like that. I was always like, yes.
Can I mention something about the abduction?
Yeah.
He says he's going to kill the daughter. He would never do that.
No,
Right.
I don't think he would.
That's the one thing he would not do. So
Yeah, he doesn't kill kids.
anyway, that's his bluff. Anyway, so Batman's on the case with another riddle. Wonderful, Anne Boleyn, Medusa, Goliath. I don't know who Marie is, but they were all beheaded.
Marie
And-
Antoinette.
Oh, that's right. Duh. Schmuck. You can edit that bit out.
Oh, sure.
And then you had mentioned the garage earlier. I love this.
Yeah,
I love the
super
garage.
cool, man.
This is the Matches Malone garage.
Mm-hmm. He's got everything. He's even got kind of like the old 1940s serial car there, the Matches Malone.
There's like a Mack truck on the very far right.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
just
yeah,
on the soft
dude.
page.
Yeah.
He
The
might
Bat
need
Mac.
And then
And-
the
but
motorcycle
he's
that we'll
still-
see later.
Yeah,
Right.
but he still decides to head out in the Batmobile.
Smart move.
7.5 minutes to reach city outskirts. Switch to silent run. And by that he means he'll turn on silent running on the TV and he's watching. He's a real big fan of what's his name?
That's
I love that movie, man.
A space convoy on a strange voyage, carrying a rare cargo. The forests, the plants, the growing things doomed to extinction on Earth.
We have just received orders to abandon and nuclear destruct all the forests and return our ships to commercial service. We're going home! You can't blow up this forest. Now move! You're not gonna go.
Silent running.
really.
It's good, don't you think?
I haven't seen it since I was like 20. I don't know, man. I think I liked it a lot.
I think it's cool. I like it, the man versus himself type of science fiction. He's in that like outer space woods that he's trying to grow plants in space and
the main actor is Laura Dern's dad, right? Bruce.
Yes.
Yeah. Bruce Dern. Yeah.
Bruce Dern, yeah.
Yeah.
There's like little people and robots and stuff.
Right.
You haven't seen it? Oh, it's cool.
I've
man.
never even heard of it before.
It's great. It's great.
I can't wait.
Bruce Dern's like 34. He's like fairly young. Or
He
something.
kind of goes crazy, man. He's wild in that.
Oh yeah.
It's a good movie. Anyway, so Batman's in the Batmobile watching Silent Running as he's driving through Gotham. And he gets to the docks, obviously, where all the shit's about to take place. We have these young-looking dudes who love X-Force and love Strong Guy, and they're like, let's just all have Strong Guy hair.
Yeah, these are Larry's actors who are posing as the Riddler's old gang.
Okay, yeah.
They're actually Larry
he's-
Stroman's actors. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
they're Larry's.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
And I
Nice.
like that when Batman is very casually like sitting on the gargoyle or whatever it is. Oh no, he's
Right.
sitting on the hood of the car.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
It's not his knees up, his butt's on the hood.
Oh, yeah. He's just like chilling because he parked right up by the end of the building.
He's got like
That's
a
really
milkshake and like a burger. He's like,
Yeah. Casing the joint. While Hunter's casing the girls' pad, or Grendel's there looking into that like Friends window we were talking about earlier.
Mm.
He's the naked guy. Get it from Friends. I watched
I enjoyed it.
it. So despite the evening summons, I could see no activity within the darkened apartment of my prey. Speaking of the girls, he's looking, and or maybe they're just energy conscious.
Which is such a rich guy joke. Like, you
Maybe
have to worry about your bills.
they have to think about their consumption.
Right. I also love that he has a wristwatch. I mean, of course he does. It's like 1992, but it's
Yeah.
such a funny thing. Like, I gotta check my shit. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
I would think that.
would later be changed to a pocket watch more than
Right.
Oh
once.
yeah.
Oh.
I would think that if he actually has the stuff in his
In the
fork
game.
too, maybe
Yeah.
he's got a little time clock in there.
Yeah.
But maybe this is before he got the updated fork.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if he didn't change it to like Gotham time, so he's all fucked up and all.
He's like, oh damn, yeah. Is Gotham in Mountain Time?
The lighting on the mask in panel 2 is another one of those.
Yeah,
the,
another
the,
future
the
Matt.
feathered. Yeah,
Mhm.
really, really cool.
Yeah. I like it. It's really identifiable. Like I just think that's like a Wagner kind of line.
And then on this last panel, I love it. It's kind of like the reflection as Grendel is coming towards this window. It's kind of just like white streaks. He's like, finally the hour arrived, and I was forced to act regardless of appearances.
Yeah, you can see the fork in the glove a little bit, and then I guess his boot.
There's only a couple pages left, but it's nonstop action until the end, almost to a dizzying level of action that's happening here.
Love Grendel upside down on the next page.
Yeah, peering in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of them seemingly reacting to each other. Hunter's kind of like slinking down into their building, tightrope walking across, while Batman and the Batmobile here is very cool with some screen tone on it or some sort of toning going on, which is super cool.
And the lettering next to the Batmobile is really fun. The kind of zigzaggy, snaky motion thing.
You can really feel the cylinders.
Yeah.
Grendel and Batman are acting at the same time here. Batman's going in. He's in the interior is empty except for giant dominoes. And then, Hunter's entering the building where the ladies are supposed to be. Oh man, it's kind of dizzying what's all happening. There is the giant dominoes that are falling, my book shut. There's like all this stuff happening. Hunter goes in and there we find an amazing rug. It really ties the room together. And Gordon's like, hold it right there. Riddler? And he's like, huh. There's only a dozen. They really don't know who they're up against. And then Batman has this really, kind of funny last remark. Who the devil is he?
Yeah.
I gotta feel too like Hunter is sort of commenting and poking fun at Batman's whole lifestyle, the giant dominoes. Like, this is how dorky your thing is. Like, I'm gonna just do giant dominoes because it might as well be a giant typewriter. It's really
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
It might as well,
Yeah.
Oh,
and then
man.
the wreckage of the warehouse and those dominoes bleeds into the end paper and
Which is
into
great.
all the credits. Really, really cool.
It's
Well,
funny.
well
Sometimes I'm like not super into end papers being incorporated into page one being the end papers, but it really works great in this book. Like, you have the cityscape and then you have the wreckage, especially the last one, the wreckage. It's so cool, and of course the credits are incorporated. He makes it
On both sides.
fine. Yeah.
Well done. And a great cliffhanger there. Like, is Grendel caught? I mean, like, the Batman people who don't know Grendel, they haven't seen him in action yet.
True.
Batman pulls his punches. Batman fights and knocks people out. Grendel, I mean, he's just going to swing that. He has no care for the lives of anyone other than those he loves or children. He's just going to slice through those GCPD like so much cheese.
Would you guys? So obviously you guys are fans of Grendel, as am I. But would you say this is your favorite Batman crossover with a character that's not a DC character, or because I love this book, but
It's really good.
I think I really adore Batman Predator, the first one. For some reason,
Adam Kubert art or something, right?
Yeah. I read
It's
as a
really
kid. It really kind of it made sense to me the way they incorporated Predator into Batman's world. This is this is better written. It's better drawn. There's better layouts. There's something about the Batman Predator. I just think that's probably my favorite, but I don't know.
I love Batman hunting Predator in that and like being the detective versus the hunter. It's so cool.
Right.
I don't know that much Batman. I've read the Tim Sale stuff, Frank Miller stuff, and Matt Wagner, and smatterings here and there of other, I guess. But
yeah,
I don't know. I can imagine the Predator book is awesome.
Yeah, Batman crosses over with people really well, but I gotta say that the Batman Ninja Turtles is insane, especially because there's 3 volumes, and each volume they did it in a different way. Like where, the Batman villains get mutated into animals, and then the second one, like, dude, the third one is the best because they changed the whole world. Whereas Bruce Wayne was killed or his parents were killed, and he was thrown into the sewer where he was found by mutated turtles and the rat. And so he was raised and trained with the turtles as the fifth brother.
This is fun.
And then we find this like prime turtle that is like drawn by Kevin Eastman comes in and is like, yo, this world is crazy. This is not right. And then we find out it's like Krang and shit. What's the big Green Lantern villain, the Monitor. So it's like this Krang Monitor that has come in to like change all of the world. Oh my God.
This sounds delightful.
Dude, the Turtles Batman crossovers are bomb.
Isn't there an animated series style one also?
There is that as well. And then there's also the movie. Yeah, they did like Batman animated meets Turtles animated or whatever, which was great.
I think the Batman Predator thing, I read it as a kid, and there's a lot of nostalgia there. But at the same time, as a kid, I read Spawn Batman, and I was like, this isn't so good. And I was like, McFarlane was like my god at that point, and Frank Miller was right up there too. And I was like, I just think they're kind of cashing the check on this one. I don't really. This is it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think those were like a little ahead of me. Like I had them and I read them, but I think I bend them, and by bend them I mean I looked at the pictures more than read them.
Right. But again, back to Batman Grendel. Like Grendel really fits into the Rogues Gallery. He really fits into the world.
Oh, yeah.
Like I could see him being a constant thorn in Batman's side. Like it's great. And when you get to the sequel, Ben, I love to hear your thoughts on it because it does with Grendel Prime. It really it showcases that character, and the story's different, and it fits. And, of course,
what Grendel Prime is after is pretty cool too.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it. Or like the set piece, but it's really smart. And actually, what was the publication time between those two? Was it a couple of years, or like was it soon after?
Don't know.
I think it's like 1993, 1996.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or maybe it's the skull, right? He's after Hunter's.
Yeah, he's under Hunter's skull.
Yeah,
and so you really need to read that story to appreciate Four Devils, One Hell, it would seem.
For sure, because that's the same. It's the same skull,
Yeah.
What do they call it? They call it like the Founder Skull, the
Source
Skull, or something like that.
Source Skull sounds awesome, but I don't know if that's what it's called.
One thing that I think is interesting about this crossover too, that most Batman crossovers try to do, is incorporate other characters, like have two villains crossover. Like they didn't try to bring in Argent, and like it would be cool to see Argent fight like Killer Croc or something like that, or like some other like Bane or something like that,
or Batman and Argent team up.
Oh yeah. Because that's exactly. And then Grendel teams up with the Joker or something like that. No, it wouldn't really. I think that's still like too much for what Matt wanted to do, which is like.
And it's Argent's absence that prompts this whole thing.
Exactly.
Right, the boredom.
It necessitates like him wanting to seek out a Batman. Yeah, and also the story, the women, like those, especially Hilly. I really like those characters, and there's just not enough room if they also had Argent and another villain.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
There's no Batman villains. It's just Grendel.
Right.
Yeah.
It's mentions of the Riddler.
Well, that's another interesting thing, is that most of these crossovers are like heroes crossing over with heroes, whereas this is like Grendel's the villain and Batman's the hero,
which probably works a lot better.
You don't need all the other stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Although it's really cool to see the Joker crossover with the Shredder and the Turtles, where it's like the Shredder Joker with the smile instead of the foot.
This sounds. I gotta read this. That sounds.
You should check the movie out too. The movie is amazing.
Right.
God, it's great.
Yeah, I like the Turtles, but I feel like there's so much stuff from IDW I haven't tried yet. I just need to get back into it.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll have to start a Turtles reread podcast.
I'm doing it. I'm down.
Just when I need another cast to edit.
Right.
Tony, before we go, can you plug some stuff? Where can we find your stuff? And
let's open up the plug bag.
What should we keep our eyes on?
Thanks,
from
Ben.
you?
Yeah. So you can find me under. Luckily, no one has my name apparently. So if you look up TonyMcMillen.com, that's me. You look up Tony McMillen on Instagram, that's also me. And basically right now I finished my 6 issues of Serious Creatures, which is a comic book about a teenage special effects artist who was working in Hollywood in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's almost like a Goodfellas or Boogie Nights take on special effects, and it's loosely based on the legend of Rob Bottin, who's the guy who did the effects on The Thing. And that book, so I finished 6 issues. I'm going to collect into a graphic novel, and that will be out by October. Probably I'm going to do a Kickstarter for it, but if you find me on social media, I'll be talking about that nonstop. But I publish, I do lots of art on Instagram almost daily, constantly drawing, and I'm pretty fun follow. You'll see. There's no boring shit about my life. It's just art and comics and stuff like that. So please find me.
Yeah, we really want to thank you for the Grendel that we used for our album art this week. Thank you for that so much.
It's like the 5th time I've drawn Grendel. I love drawing Grendel. Like it's such a great design. And I went real quick. I went back over your first episode when you talked to Wagner about the origin of it, and he mentioned the clown was sort of the initial kernel. I'm like, oh, great. I see it, because to me, when I first saw Grendel as a kid, I saw Grendel Prime, which I thought was like a weird Predator thing. But when I saw the original Hunter Rose, I was like, oh, he's like a Spider-Man, but like a little more of a ninja. I couldn't figure out the exact origin of it, and I just love it. It's a simple, beautiful, menacing look.
Yeah, I agree. He gave it a thumbs up when I sent it to him in
for
the
real?
chat. Yeah,
Oh,
he liked it. He dug it.
That's gnarly. That's awesome. And real quick, like there's so many artists who've done little quick Grendel stories, and it's like their first work. So Ashley Wood, Jim Mahfood, so many people I love, Paul Pope, like so many things, and they've done a couple pages of Grendel, and it's such a cool thing to see their early work and see where they've grown. And Grendel is like this unifying kind of thing.
Hell yeah. Awesome, Tony. Thank you so much, man. Everyone out there, don't forget to leave us a review on our iTunes. We have another one. I owe Jason Barron's a little mini zine. I'm working on a cool little Grendel mini zine. We'll have some art from both me and Ben, and from Tony now, maybe, if he says yes to this question that I just thought of right now. He did. Okay, cool. So then we'll make a little zine, and we'll send it out to some peeps who post some sweet stories. Anything else, Ben?
Keep on Grendelin. Thanks a lot, Tony.
Keep on Grendelin, Tony. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Velveeta Grendel.
Velveeta Grendel.